Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Larry Osterman, developer over in the Core Windows Audio Division.
I'm Dave Norris. I'm a development manager in Engineering Excellence.
Okay, so we're talking about some April Fool's Day stuff and classic pranks at Microsoft. So why don't you guys just go ahead and start and share with us the legendary stories?
Well, the one I still remember as being one of my favorite is the one that was told me when I was interviewing at Microsoft. And I think you actually may have been involved in that one. Was Bouncy Balls and Steve Ballmer's relight. The relight is the window that you get so that people in the hall can see skylights. And somebody put a piece of plywood behind it and then filled it up, the relight, with bouncy balls. So it looked like the entire room was filled from the floor to ceiling with bouncy balls. For some reason, pranks at Microsoft always seem to focus on bouncy balls. I don't know why that is, but they always seem to... Small round objects just seem to be, I don't know, fast.
Would you like to know why that is?
I would love to know why that is.
There were a few guys. One of them was Ray Drury.
Of course, I remember Ray.
He was in Windows. In fact, he worked so hard in Windows he got attached to it.
I was just going to say he blew his eye out.
He did. And he brought the BBC bouncy ball cult from Yale.
Oh.
And he was the one who instigated the prank with Steve Ballmer.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they had a good time. They had to put cardboard up on the relight, and they filled it with several thousand bouncy balls on. You could buy them for $10 for $250 and bring it back. And it was funny for a day or two, but the bouncy balls have this sort of greasy coating on them.
Mm-hmm.
And in enough quantities, they were enough to cause Steve Ballmer some skin itching and rash-type problems.
Oh, wow.
And he said, you have to get rid of these. And he knew who the pranksters were, but what do you do with thousands and thousands of bouncy balls? So they basically distributed them around the company, and they ended up on bookcases and on keyboards and were the subject of future pranks. And that's how it became a corporate icon, basically, for pranks.
Okay. I just remember this as I was being walked around the building on my interview loop. They were talking about the bouncy balls. The bouncy balls. So obviously it must have happened fairly recently at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's weird. One of the things about pranks is that individuals seem to be the target of pranks, and I don't know why that is. There's certain people who just seem to get nailed all the time. Paul Butsy was a classic.
Mm-hmm.
He got nailed a couple of times.
How did he get nailed, or do you remember any stories?
Well, my all-time favorite was when they turned his office into a putting green.
Yes.
That was a great one. That Paul had taken up golf, I think, or something like that, and for some reason he decided that he left town or was out of town, and the Xenix group, 286 Xenix group, decided to, they took all his office furniture out, they went out and bought sod, and they put sod in his office and layered
Like real sod.
Real sod.
Yeah,
like you go down to Jane B. Plant World and you buy sod.
Right.
And they put sod in his office. I think they put down tinfoil or something like that underneath to keep the water out. But they put sod in his office, and then they cut a little hole in it, put a little cup inside it.
Oh, beautiful.
Put a putting green flag in there, and it was amazing.
So did he keep it, or did he keep his office, take it down right away? Or?
No, he left it there for a few days until the grass started to...
Yeah.
Another one was, I think it was Carl Schumeister's when we were doing yet another move, and he wanted his, he filled out the move map, where you want your furniture, and he wanted his office to be like a home,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he wanted special furniture, organized a certain way, and wanted a spa. He put that on his move map. So some pranksters in his group just rearranged his furniture, and they bought a kiddie pool, and they put it in his office and filled it up with water.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah. But what do you do? How do you get rid of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Water.
A bucket by bucket,
That must
emptying
be.
that thing out.
I don't know what it is. It was funny as hell.
One of the ones I was told, I think I may have told this in a previous video, this had happened just before I started, actually. They took one of the developers and swapped his office with a photocopier room. We used to have these little alcoves, sort of like the one we're in right now, where there would be a photocopying machine and mail slots.
Right.
And they took the developer and they moved all his furniture and set it up perfectly in the alcove, just like it was in his office. And then they took the photocopier and everything else and moved it into the guy's office, and they just basically swapped them.
Right.
That's an old one. That's not been done. Actually, they did it just 2 weeks ago, they moved some guy's office down into the stairwell in this building.
Remember the prank? I think it was in the office group, where it was a very elaborate prank. They came in with drywall, and they drywalled off his office door. They painted it up, did the ceiling properly so you could not see the office door.
Yeah, I've even heard about this one.
Yes.
It was the perfect drywall where the office just ceased to exist.
Yeah, they put the molding on?
Yeah, they covered the walls, everything. You really could not tell.
That fellow wandered around the building trying to find his office.
That's really good.
My favorite drywall one is still when they, I don't remember who it was, one of the developers in Landman, they shorted his office by about 18 inches. They just basically built a false wall in the back of his office.
Oh, really?
Just made his office 18 inches, obviously it was an inside office, but they just made it 18 inches shorter. And the really scary thing was, it was a couple months before he noticed.
Yeah, that's what I think I've actually heard that one too.
That before, but it's like, it's the fact that he didn't even notice that they had shorted his office.
Yeah. So what about? I think it's Building 7, the building that's never been created.
Oh yeah, that's an old.
Which is kind of like the classic thing when the new hires come on. You're going to tell them, there's a meeting
in Building 7.
Building 7, and people are kind of walking everywhere, and nobody really tells them.
That one was weird. Building 7 was actually, it was scheduled to be built, and they had plans for it and everything, and we moved into this campus in '86. They built the first 4 buildings, and by the time we moved in, the first 4 buildings were too small. They built 5 and 6. By the time they got done with 6, we overflowed 5 and 6, and so they had those plans for 7, and they never did. They never built it because they realized that they couldn't build buildings that were that small anymore.
Actually, there was a big stink by all the employees that were going and having lunch over there.
That's right. Yeah.
And there was going to be a riot, so they didn't go.
One of the few times that employees actually managed to get their way in that one, because actually, do you remember? This is actually not related to a prank at all. Do you remember the stink when they beautified the woods around Building 2?
Oh right.
They had these. They had these building. The first 4 buildings of the campus were built right in the middle of a really deep patch of wood that had been left wild for 40 years or so before they built them.
Right.
And so there were these really deep, dense woods, and we moved in, and about 2 years later, the trees started falling down because they were fundamentally not very healthy, and they went in with the landscapers and they tore out all the underbrush and everything. People were so mad because it was just that they were ruining the woods by formalizing them. They put down salau, it was really
right.
They did a reasonable job of reconstructing woods-like area, but oh man, people were pissed off when that happened.
So coming back to the prank theme, we talked about the first bouncy ball prank. Do you remember the second one with Steve Ballmer in the company meeting?
Oh gosh, yes, was that Meeting Hall?
Yes, it was Meeting Hall. What happened was, it was me. I'll now confess.
Years later, it's okay.
And this, I sent out a note.
There's a statute of limitations, so you're fine.
Yeah, and we're past that. I sent out a note to 7 people who I knew were gossipers, who would just spread around. And the note said, I heard a rumor that when Steve Ballmer got up at the podium at the company meeting in Meeting Hall, he would be pelted by bouncing balls. And it just spread like wildfire. And the reaction was so funny, because it was just like throwing a match at a dry forest. There were a number of people and office managers who were just outraged, and we're adults and we shouldn't, so forth. And who was it? I forget his name, but it was Scott Oakey and this other person, and he was an architect. And he threatened to go over to Scott Oakey's office and work on his head with his tools.
Who was it?
Wow.
I think that was part of the whole thing. But
Right.
The funniest part was when we got to the meeting, and Steve Ballmer got up at the podium and leaned over to the mic and was just about ready to speak. And then he backed off and he looked up at the screen, and he had a series of slides. My spies are everywhere. I know who you are. Right? Not a single bouncy ball was thrown, but it was so funny.
Right.
He was, that was actually the same company meeting as the as the Steve Ballmer sells Windows video.
Yeah, and after the meeting, he approached me, he saw me outside, and he approached me, and he goes like this.
So he knew.
He knew it was me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, at some level, one's stuff does get around, and
Oh, sure.
you know who the troublemakers are.
Well, it was
You
a
know
smaller company back then.
God, there were, come on, there were 700, 800 people at that point.
Got 1,000.
Maybe 1,000, yeah, it was tiny then. So there were only limited number of people you could actually nail. You could actually blame. Let's see, what are the other ones that were done? I think that was it Ray's office they moved into the fish tank. I think it may have been Ray Drury's who they.
It could be.
One of the developers on Windows, when we started development of the PCAT, it was a codename project with IBM, and IBM had really strong restrictions about where the actual hardware could be.
Sure.
And it had to be in a locked room with limited access, and only a few people could access it. It was really a big deal for IBM. Not surprisingly, honestly. And the code name for this machine was called the Salmon. So the room we were kept in, of course, was the fish tank.
Right.
Where do you put the salmon? There was one of the developers on the Windows team who they decided they would just completely empty out his office, and they rebuilt it again inside the fish tank, which, of course, this developer did not have access to.
Yeah.
And he was not on the list of people who were approved to have access to that room. But so he had to beg for access to his computers until they relented and put his stuff back. Let's see. My daughter was mentioning this the other day that a lot of pranks have to do with filling offices.
Sure.
Classic. Filling offices with cups of water, cans of soda. Cans of soda is actually particularly hard to do because it takes a lot of cans of soda to fill.
Right.
But I've seen actually in this building, I've seen people filling the entire floor with those little orange Microsoft cups, filled to the top with water and just covering every horizontal surface.
Actually, worse. I saw once where they took Coke bottles, fill them up with water. You take your driver's license or credit card, turn it upside down.
No.
Oh
put it on the desk.
Oh no.
That's
no
evil.
way. That's evil. That's very evil.
There's no way that's not going to get spilled.
No.
I actually have problems with pranks that are like that are where there's no way to undo them without destruction.
Now, this wasn't so much a prank, but it was real funny. Do you remember? It was at that same company meeting at Meeting Hall where the languages group put together a video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? It was a video put to the Time Warp from Rocky Horror.
Right.
And there was a band, sort of a garage band, that redid the song to development. It was "Let's Ship the Product Again," and it was pretty funny. It involved everybody in the group, and they had Coke bottles as IVs, and it was pretty funny. And I have the video if you'd like to see if you want to.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, one of the challenges is we do so many great parody videos, but they almost never let them release it. So there's these, everybody has this history of just great videos that we never get to release. But we'll see if we can get it past the lawyers.
Well, that was shown at the company meeting.
We always show great videos at the company meeting. They don't let them go outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The problem is you don't always get rights.
Maybe this is past the statute.
I was just saying, this may be old enough at this point that it may not be hard,
Yeah.
or it may be easy to get to. Who knows? We'll find out.
Right.
What other things that we've done? Is it filling up the offices? Somebody once took. Actually, this happened in Exchange, and again, this has been done a lot. Somebody went off. You don't ever want to go on paternity leave or maternity leave,
Right.
and come back, because when you come back, invariably something has happened to your office that's not very pleasant. One program manager left and came back and found his office had been turned completely pink because he had had a baby girl.
Oh, yeah.
Came back from paternity leave. His entire office was totally pink with Hello Kitty designs on the walls.
Right.
They'd totally just done over everything. I was having a chat with a friend of mine actually, again in this building a while back, and he was telling me about how he has had a tradition of pranking some guy's office for years. Some of the things he's done are wrapping the office, everything in the office with duct tape.
Mm-hmm.
So covering every surface.
You know, I think I've seen it. I saw a
Bookcases,
picture in
everything.
Micro News that something. Oh no, it was aluminum foil.
Okay.
Everything wrapped in aluminum foil.
Yeah. Again, part of the rule with that was that before they duct taped it, they wrapped it with something that was not going to stick because duct tape never comes off.
We did that with, I think it was Great Whitten. We took an alarm clock, a particularly loud alarm clock, wired it to a socket on the inside so you couldn't just unplug it, duct taped the whole thing together, and set it to go off at a certain time of day. And you couldn't turn the damn thing off.
It's just covered in duct tape.
Yeah.
Wired in. Oh, wow.
What about email? Like, another classic example is when either somebody will send a prank email or somebody leaves their computer unlocked and somebody decides to do something like send an email. As that person, it's, this is my last day here or anything else. You guys remember any email pranks?
There was another, it was a prank, a campaign really, called Save the Blibbet. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
Microsoft used to have a logo we called it affectionately the Blibbet. Sort of looked like the Death Star or the AT&T
Hold on a second.
symbol. Do you have it?
Absolutely.
He's going to go look for it.
I don't have the button, unfortunately.
I have the button. And they went to an advertising firm, and they were going to change it to what you see now, which we call the Pac-Man logo, where the O has a little notch cut out of it.
Right.
And a lot of people were attached to the Blibbet. Here we look at this.
Got this on my first day at Microsoft, actually.
Here's the Blibbet.
The Blibbet's on it.
Let me hold it up to the camera.
See if you can zoom in on that.
There's the O.
Oh, yeah.
That's the.
That's a Death Star.
It's a Death Star, yeah.
It's a Death Star.
Eternal tools. So,
So can I get it
your
again?
name is, by the way,
Want
on
to see it
several of these
again?
manuals.
is it?
Yeah?
Okay, probably.
You
There
and
you
Ross
go.
Garma.
Here we go. All right. Yeah. Okay.
And so, I, again, instigated the Save the Blibbet campaign. And it was a joke. I really couldn't care whether we saved the Blibbet or not.
Right.
But I'm just poking fun. And,
Oh, man, did that get... But
I made
stop
hundreds-
being one.
I made hundreds of buttons called Save the Blibbet with a little Blibbet button on it. And we sent out flyers. We stuffed them. I recruited some guys, and we stuffed them in every mailbox on the campus.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then we made a screensaver that says Save the Blibbet, and it was Blinky, and Michael Leary did that.
Yeah.
And we put that on every computer that we had access to. And we got a lot of people mad for doing that. It got religious after a while, and wasn't. Which
But it
wasn't
took on a
my
life of its
intent.
own, which was the amazing
It
thing.
did.
Yeah,
It
there
really
were a lot of
became a
people
big deal. They were-
emotionally
They were.
invested in the Blibbet.
If you go to Wikipedia and you look up Blibbet, there's actually a Blibbet article that mentions the same... Yeah, I'm pretty certain of it.
Save the Blibbet there?
I believe so, yeah.
I'll bet my
If-
name's not there.
Probably not. But
You'll have
if
to
it's
update
not
it
there,
now.
it's on the Microsoft webpage. They type the Microsoft webpage in
Yeah.
Wikipedia. It's a Blibbet campaign.
So about the same time,
I mean,
the
I
Microsoft
love it.
cafeterias came up with
the
the
Blibbet burger.
The Blibbet burger. It was just a hamburger or cheeseburger.
Double cheeseburger with bacon, I think, or something like that.
Oh yeah, it was nasty. But they had the Blibbet burger, and they had that for a few years, and finally just called it what it really was. I don't know if that was.
I don't know what the purpose... I mean, that whole Blibbet thing got so totally blown out of proportion.
It was
It's
hilarious.
amazing.
It's like,
Oh, that's great.
Um,
Yeah, things take a life of
I
their
love
own.
just throwing a little pebble in the pond and watch what happens. I'm horrible.
The other one, which actually it wasn't at all, but speaking of email and viral things, Bedlam DL3.
Bedlam.
What is Bedlam DL3?
Somebody over in the internal tools group at Microsoft was deploying some test app of some kind. And
There were T-shirts.
Oh,
I survived Bedlam 3.
Eventually,
Remember
yeah. He's going to get that one. Get to that one. But he was deploying some app, and as part of that, he created a series of distribution list DLs that encompassed everybody at Microsoft. They encompassed by thirds. And that was Bedlam DL 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Well, one day, somebody was looking in Outlook, and they looked at there's a member of tab on their address book, and they looked and they said, I'm a member of the Bedlam DL3 alias. What's going on? And he sent out a piece of mail saying, what is this Bedlam DL3 alias?
And they sent it
I don't
to-
remember getting it out, and they sent it to the Bedlam DL3 alias. At which point, every alias's brain turned off.
It
And
cascaded.
they all replied
me off
saying,
the bedlam.
me too, I want it, me too. Well, normally this wouldn't be a big deal, and it would go into life. There would be exchange MTA. If a message was sent with more than 5,000, it would get to the 5,000th recipient, and the MTA would crash.
Oh, really?
Well, an MTA is a transport. It means that the mail get delivered. It's far better to deliver duplicate pieces of email than it is to not deliver the email.
And what does MTA stand for?
Mail Transport Agent. It's an email term for the mail distributors. MTA, Q-Mail's an MTA, the Exchange has an MTA, it's the same thing. So the MTA would crash. Well, it's a server environment. The first thing you do is you save your logs and you restart the MTA. And the MTA would come up and it would get to this message.
And
It would send it to the first 5,000 recipients, and it would crash. And they would restart the MTA. Everybody's email messages started flooding with the messages again and again. And it's going to make progress on it. Everybody's saying, "I'm getting this mailing list." Eventually, it took out the message transport agent. It took out the MTA. They had to shut them down.
Right,
While they
right.
manually purged the email messages from the queue. Of course, within an hour or two, we had a temporary fix for the bug running internally because we had to clear these things out, and it
Yes.
was
Microsoft without
it was-
email doesn't work. So.
no, it doesn't. It was such a mess.
And then there were stupid people who responded to Bedlam 3 saying, "Stop it, you're flooding, and make it
Stop it
worse."
and make it worse. Eventually, as David mentioned, they ended up having T-shirts with "I survived Bedlam DL3" on the front, "Me too," and on the back it listed the email names of every single person who had replied "Me too" to the email alias.
Oh, that's brilliant. That
And
is
every once in a while,
brilliant.
I still see those T-shirts lying. People wearing those T-shirts around.
Yeah.
It was. It wasn't a prank. It was totally inadvertent. Nobody ever anticipated it happening. But oh man, what a mess! That was, oh gosh.
That's a great one.
Let's
Good
see.
story.
What are the things we do other? Let's see. As I said, speaking of filling offices, my 40th birthday, my wife filled my office with balloons.
Nice.
That was fun. Takes a really long time, a big tank of helium, to fill a balloon.
Yeah, so I mean, this
Took
was
about 7 hours.
or could you just see it like it was at status?
By the time I got there, most of the balloons had fallen to the floor. They were still inflated. It was about 4 feet, about 3 feet deep. So I waited through my office. I think that one actually, made the micro news. That's one of the nice things about working here is that notable pranks make the internet news. And in Drury,
Micro Snooze?
absolutely.
There were a couple clones of it after the original one,
Yeah.
which were never any good because they corporatized it.
Yeah, well, that was yeah.
But Raymond and myself and Carl Schulmeister, there were a
Paul.
number of people, Paul Budsey, we created what would you call it, a parody?
An alternate version.
Yeah, of the Micro News.
Right.
That had some corporate dirt and just making fun of some particular things. And
Zeppelin landing pad, if I remember correctly, we were announcing that we were putting a Zeppelin landing pad by the building at the Northup building, I think, at one point. And
What was the
just
name of that
random weird
newsletter?
stuff.
What was the name?
executives, managers didn't like it at all because we make fun of a lot of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And they never find out who did it. So.
Oops.
Yeah.
So-
Well, when Carl's still here, but when
Yeah.
it's out. And then another one came out. And we never found out who did that, but it was more sanitized. It was horrible.
Well, at one point, the Micro News, official Micro News, would come up with an April Fool's edition called the Micro News, which honestly was, as Dave said, it was coordinated. They ended up it was weird because they would produce the Micro News face up, and then they would put the Micro News upside down backwards on it, and it never didn't have the same flair of the original because, of course, it was done by
Right.
done with the same.
There's
tools
certain
and
things you
it
can't
does.
But,
It was sanctioned.
so let me ask, when is this going to appear?
Probably around April 1st, if not the Friday before, because it's
I'm
not a
just wondering
Saturday.
whether we should talk about the upcoming event or not. If it's
We
April
can
1st,
record it and just edit, and you tell us whether it'll happen or not.
Well, it should happen before April 1st.
Yeah.
Right now
Okay.
it's what, April 26th?
It was 26th, 25th, or 26th. I think
Yeah.
was the last piece of mail.
April Fool's Day would be a good day to do it.
April Fool's Day is a Saturday, though. That's the
That's
only
cool.
challenge.
That's cool
We're going to do it
because
on the weekend.
Oh, great.
yeah.
So,
So tell us about it then.
So
what I'm instigating it. I shouldn't say that at this point.
no, as you say, that this is paper bag time, isn't it?
Yeah. it's
Paper
paper
bags with the
time.
heads and
So,
the voice
you have that,
muffling
can you do
machines.
that blurry with blocks and everything?
Yeah.
Wait, you know,
Let's
they
do it. I was going to say, we know who the...
They'll know who the
We know
voice
who you
is, yeah.
Actually, that might be a good thing. We'll put the blue dot in all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd make it good. So, 20th anniversary at Microsoft, I had 20,000 bounce balls. 20,000
Wow.
of various flavors and sizes and so forth. They're
How do you
sitting-
order 20,000 bouncy balls for somebody that wants to, do a prank of that nature? Did you find the wholesale
You
supply?
can buy them wholesale.
OrientalTrading.com.
Oriental Trading, yes. As a matter of fact, the BBC, there was a. Do you still have that? I still have it. The definitive tome of the BBC. BBC is Bouncy Ball Cult, and they have rituals in the Bouncy Ball Cult that it's really silly. It came from Yale. Oriental Trading Company was where they used to buy them. Now I got them from San Francisco or somewhere.
Gotcha.
But so I bought them to do a prank, but I didn't really have a specific prank in mind. So they've been sitting in my office for a month in the moving boxes. And I decided to, with that many, I needed to recruit some people. And so I got about a dozen people who were going to help me out. We're going to do two things with the bouncy balls. First of all, we're going to go over to probably building
42, 43, I think.
where they have the 6-7 story stairwells at the end of the building.
Right.
And everyone's going to bring a video camera, and we'll set them up at various points of the stairwell. And we'll put the bouncy balls in large trash cans at the top, dump them down all at once.
Oh, that's going to be great.
And
We'll definitely have to get video of it. So.
we'll have people stationed so we can see them getting pelted. It's pretty safe. They're just bouncy balls after all.
Right.
So and then we'll put together a video of that. I don't know. Maybe you guys want a copy.
Yeah, absolutely. If not, we'll come and
I'll make some
videotape.
DVDs and give it to the guys. But that's not the actual prank. That's just for fun. Then we're going to scrape up all the bouncy balls, put them back in the trash cans. Go over to the fountain at building 8, 9, 10. There's a big fountain.
Right.
We're going to dump them all in the fountain.
Oh,
Fill the
nice.
fountain up like nice. smooth
Yeah,
surface.
exactly.
And our idea is we're going to get official-looking shirts and clipboards, event organizer. And I got an idea for the lettering on the back. The most fantastic ball ever created by science. You remember that? And on the labels that came on the bouncy ball bags, there were two sayings. That was one of them, the most fantastic ball ever created by science. I still have that one. The other is fantastic action regardless gravity. It was somebody in the East. That's a little non-PC, so I'm not going to use that one.
Sure.
But it's funny, it's funny. And then we're going to leave the bouncy balls there. People will eventually come and get them.
Yeah, exactly. You should tell people so that way they can come and take their bouncy balls.
We're not telling any.
Well, you are
course.
now.
Well, except of course that we just never mind.
They'll see this after.
That's true.
Yeah.
My only fear is it will clog the fountain up.
This is a real fear.
But I have examined the fountain carefully, and the intake for the water is well below the water line, and the bouncy balls float, so they should simply float.
Well, it should be good then. As long as there's not like too many of them.
We're good to go.
Let's see.
No, 20,000. We could probably do a calculation.
Actually, it's not that big a fountain. It's a big fountain. And, well, I know how much 20 dozen is because Valerie got me 20 dozen bouncy balls for my 20th anniversary year. And 20 dozen bouncy balls is a Amazon.com size box, so it's not that. You can do, a lot of bouncy balls. That they're relatively compact, so.
Actually, was thinking of doing something with Steve again.
Okay.
And I made the mistake of talking to Debbie, his secretary, first.
Right.
And she nixed the whole thing. Which, I shouldn't have done that. I should have just done something.
Do you want to share your idea?
Okay. I was going to ninja into his office at night. There's security guards everywhere, so you have to but there's a crawl space up there.
Right.
They never look up there. So we're going to go up there, or get some PVC pipe, build an elaborate structure with a PVC pipe, rig it up with a remote control, with a trap door in the ceiling.
Sure.
And then, we can watch this. His window's right on the outside, so we can watch this, get some cameras watching him, and when he's sitting at his desk,
Empty bouncy balls?
20,000 bouncy balls pelting him in his desk.
Oh,
That was my idea.
I don't know. That sounds complicated.
It is complicated. But
That's
what a
kind of
great
Mission
plan.
It would be
Impossible.
wonderful if you pull it off. I would be.
I don't think you'd make it up in the ceiling.
No, I don't think I would not be doing well up there. Oh,
You could help with the logistics.
the logistics, yes.
So
I can do a little stuff with the PVC
that's our
pipe,
plan.
but I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll
sounds
see what
great.
happens.
Well, you definitely have to come back on and tell us about it if you can get it done. And in particular, if you get pictures, since you guys will be watching through the glass.
I might move this to April 4th.
That would actually be a good time for that.
It would be. Okay,
Work
that's a good
well.
idea.
So.
All right, guys. Anything else? All right. Well, thanks again, guys.
You bet.
Definitely appreciate it.